Hello, my nocturnal friends. There are stories that transcend time. Echoes of ancient curses that have never been forgotten. One of them is that of the Bell Witch. A presence that knows no rest. A spirit that manifests itself through suggestions, knocks, and absolute fear. Today, you will hear a true story. From someone who experienced, in the flesh, the curse that now haunts the banks of a forgotten river, in the heart of Brazil. Get ready. Dim the lights. Put on your headphones. And enter this darkness with me. The haunting of the Sin Witch. During my adolescence, between 2004 and 2008, my family moved to a small town in the Brazilian countryside called Santa Helena. It was a peaceful place, surrounded by hills, rivers, and forests. At least, it seemed peaceful. A few weeks after the move, something happened. While mowing the lawn with my father's tractor, going down a hill, I felt a violent impact on the tires. I stopped the engine and got out to check. Looking at the freshly cut path, a chill ran down my spine. The tractor had run over a trail of 4 ancient graves, arranged side by side. Archaeologists and local historians later confirmed this. They were indigenous graves from the colonial period. Shallow, covered with stone slabs, hastily built to protect the bodies from rainwater. The explanation was simple. But what came next had no explanation. Soon after the tractor incident, the strangeness began. Loud knocks echoed off the brick walls of the house, coming from all sides. No matter where we were, the knocks were always there. At night, along with the knocks, I heard footsteps running in sync outside. And little by little, a suffocating presence began to inhabit my room, as if a weight crushed my chest whenever I tried to sleep. One night, I let my golden retriever, Ginger, out the back door of the house. Facing the river, the air was calm, until I began to hear whispers. At first, it sounded like wind in the leaves. But no trees moved. The whispers grew louder, forming a strange language. My dog growled, her fur standing on end. And then, the smell of sulfur filled the air. The voices seemed to be just feet away. Ginger lunged at the void, as if attacking something invisible. I pulled her back inside and locked the door. Immediately, a violent thud shook the door frame, making the house tremble. We spent the entire night in the center of the house. My dog trembled and whimpered in my lap, while the thuds continued until dawn. Walking home after soccer practice, I carried my bag over my shoulder. As I entered, I noticed movement in the library, where there was a piano, bookshelves, and a wooden rocking chair. The chair rocked on its own. And in it, sat a humanoid figure. Head bowed, black hair falling forward, holding a book. But its body reflected no light. It was as if it were a black hole in human form, sucking in the light around it. My body froze, then I was thrown against the door, screaming. The figure distorted and passed through the wall, disappearing through the window overlooking the river. My dog ran after the shadow, barking and scratching at the walls, but came back panting, frightened. One night, I was fishing with my cousin Joao, just 10 years old, on the riverbank. The full moon illuminated everything. It was then that he nudged me and said, "That lady needs help." I looked in that direction and saw a pale woman, dressed in white, collecting stones on the riverbank. I had seen her before, always from a distance, but she always disappeared when I tried to get closer. To avoid scaring my cousin, I told him to go home. When I looked back, the woman was gone. But I heard a heavy splash in the water, just below the bend in the river. On July 4th, my father, some friends, and I were fishing at the same bend in the river. Each of us had a Coleman flashlight lit. Suddenly, all the flashlights shone brightly, and went out. Then they relit themselves, only to go out again. It was then that a woman's scream echoed from across the river. A long, anguished, desperate scream that ended abruptly, as if her throat had been cut. Soon after, we heard something heavy falling into the water. And then, swimming sounds on both sides of the river. Something was moving toward us. We decided to flee. Running home, we heard the knocking on the walls, this time more intense, like the ticking of a demonic clock. Some time later, I visited the so-called Witch's Cave with friends, a place known for its local legends. One of them, mocking the story, jumped onto the stone of the old plantation marker and shouted, "I don't believe in the witch." Soon after, a thick mist began to rise from the river, enveloping the field. The temperature dropped sharply. The air smelled of sulfur. And we heard heavy footsteps, like dozens of people running among the cut tobacco stalks. The sound came from all directions. And then, a colossal roar echoed within the mist. We ran in desperation. As I ran, a huge rock hit me in the back, leaving a massive bruise. After that, I began having disturbing dreams. I was dismembered, tortured, or felt invisible hands pushing my soul out of my body. I always woke up in a cold sweat. Until one night, I woke up outside my house. Lying directly over the 4 graves I had dug with the tractor months before. And there, I knew for sure. It wasn't just indigenous land we had disturbed. Something much older, much darker, had awakened. And so ends another dark tale. But remember, stories like this never truly end. They just wait in the silence of the night. If you've made it this far, it's because you're brave enough to walk with us through the shadows. So, subscribe to the channel. Activate the bell, and join this community that doesn't fear the unknown. Because here, terror never rests. And I'll be waiting for you in the next story.